There's a woman by the name of Tara Reid. Not Tara Reid, not to be confused with the actress who spells it differently and also says Tara, not Tara, but I've heard this pronounced Tara. Tara Reid. She was a former staffer for Joe Biden, and she came out and has made an accusation of sexual assault. So Ryan Grimm broke the story, and Tara went on Katie Halper's podcast. So let's listen to some of what she had to say about her encounter.
He just said, "Hey, come here, Tara." And then I handed him the thing, and he greeted me. He remembered my name. And then we were alone, and it was the strangest thing. There was no exchange, really. He just had me up against the wall. And I was wearing a skirt and, a business skirt, but I wasn't wearing stockings. It was kind of a hot day that day, and I was wearing heels. And I remember my legs had been hurting from the marble, of the Capitol, walking. And so I remember that kind of stuff. I remember I was wearing a blouse, and he just had me up against the wall, and the wall was cold. And I remember it happened all at once. The gym bag, I don't know where it went. I handed it to him, it was gone. And then his hands were on me and underneath my clothes. And, and then he went down my skirt, but then up inside it. And he, penetrated me with his fingers, whatever. And, he was kissing me at the same time, and he was saying something to me. He said several things, and I can't remember everything he said. I remember a couple of things. I remember him saying first, before, as he was doing it, "Do you want to go somewhere else?" And then him saying to me, when I pulled away, he got finished doing what he was doing, and I kind of was pulled back. And he said, "Come on, man. I heard you liked me." And that phrase stayed with me because I kept thinking what I might have said. And I can't remember exactly if he said I thought or if I heard, but it's like he implied that I had done this. I don't know. And for me, it was like everything shattered in that moment, because I knew we were alone. It was over, right? He wasn't trying to do anything more, but I looked up to him. He was like my father's age. He was this champion of women's rights in my eyes. And I couldn't believe it was happening. It seemed surreal. And I just felt sick because when he pulled back, he looked annoyed, and he said, something else to me that I don't want to say. And then he said, I must have looked shocked, and he grabbed me by the shoulders. I don't know how I looked, but I must have looked something, because he grabbed me by the shoulders and he said, "You're okay. You're fine. You're okay. You're fine." And then he walked away and he went on with his day. And what I remember next is being in the Russell building, where the big windows are, and the stairs by myself. And my body, I was shaking everywhere and it was cold all of a sudden. And I don't know, I felt like I was shaking just everywhere. And I was trying to grasp what had just happened.
So she went to the Time's Up people. Remember, the whole Me Too movement, Me Too, Time's Up. She went to the Time's Up people to tell them about what Biden did to her. And they basically told her to kick rocks. They gave her some BS excuse about how, we can't go public with this because we're a nonprofit and Biden's running for president. I wish people would just be honest, and I wish they would say, yeah, listen, we're also total Democratic Party hacks, and so we're going to protect the Democratic Party come hell or high water. So even though the whole point is man, time's up. Time's up. We're going to make sure that the day of powerful men getting away with their crimes, their sex crimes, is over. And then you have somebody who's like, hey, here's a powerful man who did sex crimes. They're like, new phone, who dis? See, what happened was the sun was in my eyes, and I wasn't even sure about all that I was hearing when people were saying that they got to see that you was, I know that there was an issue, but we got to make sure that with a nonprofit status, if you carry the 6, and then make sure that the thing happens with, who knows, is there any evidence? So this is the whole, Guys, listen. I am a deep, deep believer in due process. Deep believer. These are the people, though, who say, believe all women. Believe all women. Now, I know, I've heard the 1,000, tortured rationalizations from people, including people I know and respect, who are like, no, believe all women doesn't mean believe all women. What the hell does it mean then? What does it mean? You're literally saying the words. That means believe all women. It means what it means, obviously. But the same people who make those arguments, they're acting like this isn't even happening. Go ahead. Go look. Has CNN brought this up? As of me doing this segment, they haven't. MSNBC? As of me doing this segment, they haven't. New York Times, Washington Post, any of the major... Nope. As of me doing this segment, they haven't. So you know what? I'm going to ask you guys. Tweet at whoever the hell. Tweet at some CNN reporters, some MSNBC reporters or hosts, some New York Times people, some Washington Post people. Don't tweet to just at MSNBC. Tag in people, whoever it might be, Joy Reid, Rachel Maddow, Jake Tapper over at CNN, Chris Cuomo. Please tweet them either this segment or, the story of it. I'll leave the story in the video description box, the, Ryan Grimm story, where he lays out everything. Tweet it at mainstream reporters because, guys, it's journalistic malpractice that they haven't talked about this. You want to know why? Anybody makes a peep against Trump, and there are many accusations of sexual assault and harassment against Trump, but they'll talk about it till the cows come home. It's endless. There was, over 20 accusations against Trump? Every one of them they breathlessly reported on oh man, this is bad. I think the Me Too movement's right, and time's up for these guys who are powerful and who abuse their authority and everything. Here we have an accusation against Joe Biden. Nobody's saying anything. Listen, they couldn't prove anymore if they tried that corporate media are just establishment Democratic hacks. They're not media. The Republicans are wrong when they say, the media has a left-wing bias. This is what they say. Left-wing bias in the media. No, they have no left-wing bias. They hate Bernie Sanders just as much, if not more, than they hate Donald Trump. What they are is an establishment Democratic propaganda outlet. All of them. Corporate Democratic propaganda outlet. In the same way that Fox News does propaganda for the Republican Party, MSNBC and CNN do propaganda for the Democratic Party. That's what it is. And so you have a credible allegation against Biden. They're not even talking about it. They're not even reporting on it. Biden's team hasn't responded to it. Biden hasn't said anything. It's really egregious. It's really egregious because, again, these are all the same people who say, believe all women, treat it all seriously. I love the Me Too movement and the Time's Up movement, and this is what they say. And now when it's somebody who they like, they don't say anything. It's really gross, man. It's really gross. She was a former Biden staffer. At the time in the 1990s, she told family members about it, and she told friends about what had happened. And of course, the response from anybody among that establishment Democratic crowd, what have they done? One of the things they've done is they've said, this is a Russian disinformation campaign. They go back to playing their greatest hits. Everybody I don't like is a Russian puppet, And they also, they're trying to say, this is a Bernie Sanders hit job or something. As far as I know, she doesn't even support Bernie Sanders. I think she was an Elizabeth Warren supporter. And also, pretty bad timing if it was supposed to be Oppo from the Bernie team or whatever. The guy who won't even call Joe Biden corrupt is not going to bring up something like this. But, it waited till the race is almost totally over, and now you release it. So it's not... People should take the allegation just as seriously as they take the allegations against Trump. And the corporate Democrats are not doing that. They're protecting Biden, which is no surprise because they've pretended to this point that he doesn't have cognitive decline when that is pretty damn obvious. Pretty damn obvious. So We live in a hellscape, man. We got one serial groper with dementia versus another serious groper with dementia. Serial groper. Serial, serious. It's both of those things. Our options are horrendous. If only there was somebody else who was still running in the race. There is. What do you know? So, I feel bad for Tara because she gains nothing from this. She's going to get the ire of the entire Democratic establishment. I haven't seen any Republicans bring it up, although they might at some point, but, Trump has even more accusations against him, so I don't know if they've just said, we'll just leave all that whole topic aside, but I'm sure this has brought nothing but, pain for her. So I feel for Tara, and even at this late date, even I'm naive because I really thought that they'd at least have to address this. They haven't. They've just ignored it and acted like it didn't happen, even though she was a former Biden staffer, and the story appears to add up in many ways that certainly make it credible enough where they would be screaming it from the rooftops if it was a Republican who did it.